Hey guys, Noel here, and it is Sunday night, and while we have a little bit of time on our hands, I thought it would be fun to do a video for the pro wrestling and sports weblog section of the Noel Comics YouTube channel. Tonight we're going to do a little bit of a reaction video and a review of AEW Forbidden Door 2023. I just had a couple friends over along with Santino. We ordered some pizza, watched the pay-per-view, and a good time was had by all. So I'm not going to go through every single match on the pay-per-view. I'll just talk about what stood out to me as some really cool things and anything that I think could have been, improved upon, or maybe like a wish list of things. First off, we should talk about the MJF Tanahashi match. It seemed fine. Tanahashi definitely seems to be getting kind of a little burly, maybe not quite as spry as he was in past outings. I'm not a huge connoisseur of his. I did used to watch New Japan Pro Wrestling on TV Asahi via some shady websites. So I have seen some of Tanahashi's stuff, and I think he's super cool. But he had kind of a rough match on AEW Collision. His match with the MJF. I'm going to be honest, I was talking with a lot of my friends about the new Flash movie with Michael Keaton Batman, which I will do a review of, shortly on the channel. But it seemed like a perfectly adequate match with a pretty predictable ending with MJF winning. It would have been nice for Tanahashi to win, but I think MJF is on such a roll as the AEW champion. It doesn't make sense to beat him anytime soon. He's too good on the mic. He's too young. He's got too much of an upside. And the more victories he gets under his belt with this level of momentum, you can build a real star. And build the Ric Flair of AEW via MJF. Next up, that stands out in my mind was the CM Punk match against Kojima, and I believe that's the guy he was fighting. It was, again, fine. CM Punk, since he had his MMA training, his in-ring work, in my opinion, looks a little better. He, rather than doing very snappy, polished, kind of acrobatic wrestling moves, you can tell, at least in my opinion, that he's someone who now knows how to do jiu-jitsu holds. So he seems to be setting up his holds in a way that someone would do rolling, as opposed to, in a super choreographed wrestling match. Although he's still in super choreographed wrestling matches. It's funny. He went for, it's called like an anaconda, but it looked like an Americana, a key lock. And I'm like, oh, hey, he knows how to do an Americana now. And my friend was saying, well, it helps when the other guy lets you do it, So, again, I think CM Punk has an undeserved ego. He's not a tough guy, but he definitely seems to have spent some time training in real gyms, and it's showing his progress, I think, even though it did not look good at all in UFC. And he showed, I think, a real lack of aptitude when it came to picking up mixed martial arts. He seems to be, at least, from the way he presents himself in professional wrestling and executing his moves, and the way his body looks, it looks like he's continuing to train in MMA and getting better in MMA, and consistency is the way that you get better in anything, including MMA and jiu-jitsu. So I hope he keeps up with that, and I just hope that he gets some humility, and that spills over into his conduct as a professional wrestler off stage. But again, I don't know what's going on backstage. So that's just the impressions I get from hearing what he says and hearing what the tabloid journalists say. But his match, again, was fine. The Canadian crowd really gave it to him, because the Canadian crowds are always smart crowds, and they know that CM Punk is an asshole and they, were booing him, and he had some fun trolling them back. I do think CM Punk is going to work a lot better as a heel than a babyface, because he can really sink his teeth into being that, arrogant, delusional asshole. Because I think that is kind of a part of his personality, and he can channel that negativity into a character that can then become something positive and entertaining. I can't really remember what the match after CM Punk was. So I just remember things being fine. There wasn't anything that really stood out as really negative. The next match that kind of comes to my mind was the women's match, Toni Storm versus Willow. Very attractive ladies. And again, a perfectly adequate, entertaining wrestling match. Saraya and Ruby Soho were by the ring. I like the Outcasts. I like the idea of a female NWO with DX colors, led by, kind of WWE NXT wrestlers. They got a lot of charisma. Toni Storm is super attractive. Saraya's got a lot of star power, and Ruby Soho is, I think, good as kind of punk muscle. So I like the chemistry that those three girls have as a faction. And Willow's, she's fine. It would have been cool though if Sasha Banks didn't get hurt. Then she in all likelihood would have been defending at this pay-per-view, and things would have gotten really wild. Next match that comes to mind is the Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Sonata match. Again, very good match. I can't think of a bad match on this pay-per-view, honestly. But the big thing was that Jungle Boy Jack Perry turned heel after losing the match, and he beat up Hook. Now, the thing that makes me disappointed about this is that Jungle Boy Jack Perry, I think, he does really well as a babyface. And I really like Tarzan Boy. I like Tarzan Boy by Baltimoria. So I'm concerned that him being a heel, he's not going to come out to Tarzan Boy anymore. And I really like hearing Tarzan Boy when I watch pro wrestling. So that's my only real concern about that. I get the need to evolve his character because maybe he feels like he's kind of stagnating as a babyface. But he's a good babyface, and Tarzan Boy is an amazing song. And it's not like he can really team up with Luchasaurus and Christian. I still think they should do a funny storyline where Christian dates Jack Perry's mom. But it is what it is. And it looks like we're going to get a feud with Jungle Boy and Hook. And that should be cool because Hook, I like his in-ring style performance. It should be interesting to have a pro wrestler, MMA guy, versus Jungle Boy, kind of a high flyer versus a grappler, judo, jiu-jitsu type fighter. It should be interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Then I would say the next thing to come to mind would be the match of the night, Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay. That match was insanely good. I don't even have words to describe how good it was. There's times where Dave Meltzer, seems like he's full of shit talking about how good matches are. That Kenny Omega Will Ospreay match was like one of those WrestleMania matches with a bunch of near falls. Except the fight quality in the match was better, in my opinion. The closest thing I can think of to this match was the Cody Rhodes Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania. Except again, I think the fight quality, the fight choreography was better in this match. They were just doing very cool moves, tons of near falls, great ring psychology, great drama. I mean, this was a match that went on and on and on, and I was never tired watching it. There's times when you watch AEW, and I like this about AEW. AEW really does a lot of long matches. They really book their show for the pro wrestling fan dirt sheet reader. They do that kind of WCW style, kind of long match, like kind of extended lucha libre match kind of thing that WCW used to do in the mid card, but that's just like that kind of up and down the card in AEW. When the crowd chants "Fight Forever," a lot of the time it's kind of hokey or forced or whatever. This was not. This match totally lived up to the hype. Will Ospreay had awesome entrance music. Kenny Omega came out to his New Japan One Winged Angel music. He needs to use that all the time. He needs to use that in AEW regularly. It fits his character better. It makes him seem so much more dramatic, so much more interesting, so much more of a badass, so much more of like an anime supervillain or superhero. His AEW music, I think it's called like Devil's Sky or something like that. It's fine, but we're talking about Kenny Omega being fine versus Kenny Omega being exceptional. And that New Japan music really makes Kenny Omega exceptional. So he needs to use that all the time because it adds so much more drama and so much more excitement when he comes to the ring. And then that then spills over into the quality of his matches, which are always excellent. I love Kenny Omega. He's the best wrestler out of this current generation. And the only complaint I have about that match is that Will Ospreay won and Kenny lost, but I knew that Will Ospreay was probably going to win because Kenny won the first match, and now Will Ospreay's won the second match, and this opens the door for a third match, which really needs to happen because these guys have such good matches. I didn't see the first match. This was an amazing match, and nothing else topped it on this pay-per-view. It was a hard act to follow, but it was phenomenal. Next up, match I was really looking forward to, Tetsuya Naito, Sting, and Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho, Suzuki, and Sammy Guevara. And Sting seemed to have gotten hurt in this match or have needed to take a little bit of a break. Sting is in his mid-60s, and for whatever reason, Sting is taken to wearing long-sleeve t-shirts, and I don't know why. He seems like he's in pretty good shape, and I just don't know why he wants to layer up that much. Especially in a match, where you're like pro wrestling, people get hot, like if I'm at the gym, like doing jujitsu or something, I don't want anything under my gi. If I'm boxing, I don't want to wear a shirt, I want to be able to sweat and breathe, and Sting is in decent shape, so he shouldn't feel the need to cover himself up. He looks awesome. When he was in the ring, looked really good. I think what may have happened is, Darby Allin, I think, was doing something like he was doing like a shooting star press or something while Sting was on the table. And I don't know if Sting got out of the way in time or if it was part of like the situation where Sting was supposed to take the hit, but it looked like Sting tried to roll out of the way and got hit anyway. And then Sting was moving pretty slow after that. There's actually a situation where Sting could have gone and made a save, but he just went and rested on the ring apron. Sting is, again, I think he's like 64, 65, and he still wrestles phenomenally. I think AEW does a good job of protecting Sting. They treat Sting with a lot of respect. They really show you they've booked Sting infinitely better than WWE did. The way WWE booked Sting was an embarrassment to their company, and they should always be held accountable for that. They botched Sting way worse than WCW botched Bret Hart. And it's just another example of WWE not living up to their reputation as the major leagues and really, bobbling a legend like Sting the same way that they bobbled the WCW acquisition. But anyway, the Tetsuya Naito is so good. He's so good. So even with Sting getting kind of hurt or slowed down in this match, Sting's ring psychology is phenomenal. The goodwill toward him is also phenomenal. So everybody just loves Sting. Sting knows how to work that. Sting still powered through the match, doing what he could do as well as he could do it, the same way that Hogan did during his match with Sting in TNA. And that's really the mark of a really good professional wrestler, somebody who knows how to, despite being physically limited, know how to work the crowd, do what you can do in a way that engages the crowd. And Sting was able to do that while Tetsuya Naito was able to do the heavy lifting. Darby Allin he was there, did some cool stuff. Chris Jericho and Sting seem to be setting up a feud, which should be pretty good. I'm excited to see it as a WCW fan. So it seems the thing that stood out in the Sting match was that, it was cool seeing Sting and Chris Jericho in the ring together. Tetsuya Naito kind of stole the show in terms of best quality of work. There was a really cool pose situation with Minoru Suzuki, Sammy Guevara, and Chris Jericho, where they were doing like this kind of Ginyu Force pose with each other, and it was really funny. So Sting, just legendary respect and doing well despite being old and a little hurt. Tetsuya Naito, amazing. Darby Allin, just cool to have around. And Jericho's team being funny heels. It was a good match, but I'm concerned about Sting. I always want to make sure he's okay. And then finally, it was Daniel Bryan and Okada. And that match was good, but I was so tired by the end of the pay-per-view. I started to fall asleep during it. But I will tell you, the thing about that match that was better than the match itself was Bryan Danielson came out to Final Countdown, which was what I wanted him to come out to when he debuted in AEW, and I felt it was a kind of a tragic waste of an opportunity. They didn't come out to that when he debuted as a babyface. Now he's a heel, but still seeing him come out to that song is just Goosebump City, and it's such a great song for a pro wrestler to come out to, and knowing his history with that song and just hearing that wall of sound and that cool 80s synth pop, super band song, while he's just walking down to the ring in a sea of humanity that's singing the song, and just being overpowered by the song. It's just great. It's great emotion, great image. And Danielson and Okada had a really cool match. It ended kind of abruptly. Okada tapped out. And again, I look forward to more of those two. It was a really good match. Not as good as Omega and Ospreay. Omega and Ospreay was just so good. I can't. It's just one of the best matches I've ever seen easily, and I really look forward to more. But Bryan and Okada were no slouches either, and top to bottom, it was an awesome show. My only real criticism with this show, and I saw someone talking about this online, and they were right. There was a tremendous missed opportunity to do Bullet Club stuff. No Bullet Club stuff on the show. You got Jay White with the whole Bullet Club Gold thing, and that seems to be kind of like it's a force to be reckoned with on Collision, which is cool, but it definitely needs to be, I think, expanded upon. You've got Jay White and Juice Robinson. Get more than two people in that faction, right? You could get the Elite involved in that faction, although the Elite doesn't want to be involved on Collision. You could have Bullet Club Gold be on two shows, and then have like certain members of Bullet Club Gold on Collision and certain on Dynamite. But I know there had been some issues with Bullet Club. They always do this. The Japanese Bullet Club always says that any Bullet Club that operates in America is like unofficial or whatever, regardless of the fact that they're not as famous as the Bullet Club members who are wrestling in America. So, but it would have been interesting to see, Finley's Bullet Club versus Jay White's Bullet Club, or have the Elite and Bullet Club Gold, work together. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you could have done with the Bullet Club. The Bullet Club is still one of the most famous factions in pro wrestling, and even though it might not be as exciting as it once was with all the Hot Topic t-shirts and stuff like that, the name still carries a lot of, I think, gravitas. So there's that. So there's my thoughts. I really had a lot of fun watching Forbidden Door. It was so good that it was almost exhausting. That's the thing with AEW. Their matches are so multi-layered that it gets tiring sometimes. But it was a really entertaining pay-per-view. I'm glad I got it. My friends all liked it. And I highly recommend it. I hope they do more pay-per-views like this. And until next time, guys, my name is Noel. You take care, and I will see you in the very near future for more pro wrestling reviews and Noel Comics YouTube action. Bye-bye.